Okay, this is the final part of our bird feeding series. We're going to talk a little bit about birds of prey. I want you to just look at this photo for a minute and think about what strikes you about this photo. Usually, when I ask people this question, they say it's like it's almost a mean look, or the eyes are looking right at you. That's Think about this, but that's different than most other birds. Most birds have eyes off to the sides of their heads. Birds of prey, predators, have front facing eyes that can chase their prey. So, you know a predator when you see it because of the way their eyes are. Their eyes are. Their eyes are predator eyes, hunting eyes. Um, and they also, of course, have that hook beak that we talked about for tearing meat apart, and they have feet with very powerful talons to catch their prey and kill their prey by squeezing. They sort of stab them with their talons, but also often, like I said, suffocate them through squeezing really hard. So, a few things about birds of prey. Hunting live prey is a hard process. It takes a lot of energy. And so, and offspring of hunting birds take a lot of care. The chicks need to be cared for while they learn to hunt. They don't instinctively know everything they need to know about hunting. Um, I know people who do rehabilitation, and if they have a bird that's a baby, they have to teach it how to hunt. It's not an easy job, and so that takes, and the whole time they have to be fed while they're doing it, so it's a big energy expenditure. The result is that most birds of prey do not have very many offspring. Okay, you don't have big clutches of lots of eggs. You only have a couple of eggs, and they have to be cared for a long period of time after they're hatched. Um, Also, they are vulnerable to something called biological magnification. And if you remember the story of Rachel Carson and Silent Spring, she made people aware that birds like ospreys and eagles, their eggs were getting a coat. Their egg, the outside shell was not very hard, and their eggs, they were losing eggs because of biological magnification, because of the chemical DDT, which was building up in the food chain. And these things that are at the top of the food chain, birds of prey, obviously they're not hunting huge animals, but they're pulling out of the water pretty big fish sometimes, eagles and ospreys, and those fish ate smaller fish that ate smaller fish, and that those things that chemicals that end up in the tissues build up in that food chain, and they can be affected by those toxins. I want to talk a little bit about a particular kind of bird of prey that have some special adaptations, and those are nighttime birds of prey, owls, right? Everybody loves an owl. They have a lot of adaptations to allow them to hunt at night. This is not an easy task. Their eyes are adapted for night vision, so they have lots of rods and not a lot of cones. If you remember your science lesson, that if you have lots of rods and very few cones, that means you don't see color very well, but you can see in really low light conditions. They have this round facial disc, which acts just like a satellite, or a receiving satellite, and it allows the sound to be filtered to its ears. The ears are asymmetrical, so there's one that's a little lower than the other on the sides of their head, so that when the sound does come to their ears, they can locate it. If they were exactly symmetrical, they wouldn't be able to locate the sound, where the sound was coming from, as easily. So they have asymmetrical ears. They have this big round facial disc that collects sound. and sends it to the ears. And then they have special feathers. I wish I could show you an owl feather, but it is made of they're softer, and they also, notice the edges of the owl feather here look as though they're a little worn. That's actually not wear, that's the way they're designed to allow a little bit of air through. And what that does is allow, instead of slapping against the air, like say a turkey wing does when it just hits the air hard enough that you can hear the flap, 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 they allow enough air to go through that you can't hear them. Why is that important? Because a lot of the rodents that they're hunting at nighttime have really good hearing. And so if they made a lot of sound, they wouldn't be able to sneak up on their prey at nighttime. So those are just some of the adaptations for nighttime birds of prey. There are a lot of adaptations for hunting that we didn't really get into, but those are the basics of birds that are predators.